Welcome back to another episode. We're going to be talking today about this idea called entrepreneurship through acquisition. Buying a business could actually be your fastest path to wealth, and this is coming up more and more, but I really wanted to break it down. So I'm coming from a career of consulting where I then transitioned into working with early stage startups in Africa. And I remember when I was in the consulting world, being around so many really smart, intelligent colleagues, even when I later was at a financial services institution, just being around so many smart people that are really working really hard to make a difference and a change, but all to the end, right, of this large corporate company or corporate consulting organization, kind of to no end. And then on the other side, right, working with entrepreneurs and startups and early stage focused, really waking up every single day focused on solving a particular problem in their market, working so hard, customer obsessed, right? Focused on innovations, changing their markets, getting after it every day, knowing that 9 out of 10 of these businesses or startups will fail. And so I've thought long about how there could be sort of where's the in between, right? Of not necessarily having to start a business, but at the same time, not being stuck in these corporate jobs where you have all of these smart and intelligent people. Enter entrepreneurship through acquisition, the middle ground, right? So what is ETA? That's really what I want to talk about today. And in future episodes, we'll talk about the how, we'll talk about how to finance it, we'll talk about what roles you can play. But today, let's just set the context. I'm like the context queen, right? So simply put, you don't have to start a business from scratch. You instead could leverage your corporate career, what you've learned, the skills that you've gained, right? To actually buy a business that is already operating. So think about a business already operating. They've got cash flow, they've got customers, they've been able to prove that people want what they're buying, right? They've got revenue. And so with these different elements in mind, you can actually acquire that as opposed to starting from scratch or as opposed to being kind of stuck in corporate where you don't really have any ownership, potential. So why, right? Why is this now coming up? Why is it coming into people's consciousness? Really, it's because of the aging population and the trends that I've talked about in previous episodes. So if you think about the global north, aging population, people who have businesses no one to really transfer it to. If you think about the global south, younger populations, still a lot of opportunity there, but a bit different. So I really want to break down the two different markets and talk a little bit about what's happening in places like the US and then what's happening in other emerging markets, just setting the context. All right. So if we look at the US, according to Gallup, baby boomers own most small businesses. Baby boomers coming out of the World War, right? Lots of opportunity to start a business. Many of them will be 65 by 2030. Baby boomers own about 2.5 million small businesses employing 25 million people, generating $5.1 trillion in GDP. So this no be small new is actually a big thing. 74% of these businesses with employees, they plan to sell. That means 3 out of every 4 small businesses, the owner plans to sell, but so many of them don't have a succession plan. It means that they'll just shut the business down or sell it at a discount, right? And so there's so much opportunity to look and evaluate these kinds of businesses and the sectors where there's a lot of businesses for sale: manufacturing, logistics, healthcare services, distribution, trade, food, retail. So much opportunity, right? And you're seeing similar trends in Canada, Europe, other parts of Asia. But then you now go into Africa, like countries across Africa, across Latin America, and across South Asia, and you're seeing a smaller segment of this same challenge, right, with family businesses, but sharper in terms of the target. Succession, it's still an issue. You see many family businesses in these markets that, were built in the 70s and 90s after much of independence has happened, right? Countries becoming independent. And these family businesses are aging. With people who are aging and they don't really have a plan. And some of these are gatekeepers to entire value chains. All right, let's dive a little bit deep on a couple of countries. In Nigeria, you have about 39 million small to medium enterprises. About 100 to 200,000 of these are probably succession potential that could be bought. In India, you have 63 million small to medium enterprises. So many family businesses, right? Family owned, coming up on retirement. Across Latin America, you've got Mexico, you have Brazil, you have Colombia, 50%, right? 50% of these businesses are family owned in a similar scenario with kids who do not want to take these businesses over. Yeah. And so the challenge is, even when, if you look at the data, even when children do take over these businesses, wealth transfer challenges happen, where a lot of these companies, a lot of these businesses actually end up failing, or a lot of the wealth actually disappears each time there's a handover with family. So there's even challenges with succession plans when family members are involved. And so that's really the opportunity, or that's really the context that I wanted to share. Is it's called the silver tsunami, this idea that there are so many people who are aging with businesses available for sale, and that there are trillions of dollars of assets that are just there for the taking. And so this to me is an opportunity for many of us who are, again, you've either been in a corporate role or you're in a corporate role and you're looking for sort of what's next in life, or you're on the start of a startup. Maybe you've had a failed business. Maybe you're not interested in continuing down that path. Entrepreneurship through acquisition is the middle ground. And again, if you've heard in previous episodes, why do I care, right? Like, what is the importance for me? Well, the problem in the world that I'm trying to solve is economic integration between diasporans and Africans across emerging markets. I think that we are the unlock to each other, but we have to be connected economically. It's not enough socially, it's not enough culturally. We actually have to be economically integrated. And I think entrepreneurship through acquisition is an incredible way to do that. Think about this example. You buy a business, or you look at buying a business that's in the distribution, trade, even manufacturing or wholesale side in the United States. Right? Get that business, operations, tech, maybe some marketing. You improve that business. You now go and buy a business on the agro processing side, right? Let's say it's Nigeria, a market that I'm comfortable with and that I'm familiar with. You go and buy a business on the agro processing side. You do the same thing. Get AI in there, use tech, create systems, processes, and now you have a business that can actually leverage and be synergized, working together. I can now take the product that's been processed and packaged in the agro processing center and leverage that and distribute it through the distribution center that I've now purchased in the US. And you create these kinds of integrated synergies, right? All the while generating revenue, acquiring wealth, because you have an ownership stake in this business. It is yours, right? Or you've actually brought in an operator to run the business while you own it. So that is, to me, the opportunity with entrepreneurship through acquisition. So again, I've been spending time learning, working it out, thinking about it, trying to figure out where I want to play and what I'm interested in. And I want to go on this journey together. I'll share my learnings. I'll write about it. I'll also share here on this channel. So join me. Next episodes, we're going to be breaking it down at a level of detail where you can kind of follow along, and we can do this together, building wealth together, economically creating integrations between us. See you on the next one.